Cone, going to bring you in. Blaine, at this point, from an NFL standpoint, I think they want to do it, and I think they're probably going to do it. Because, again, optically, it is a true win-win. Either you're right because he wasn't good enough, then he'll make the excuse that it was because he was 5 years out, or he is good enough, and you are the most accepting, understanding, realizing you made a mistake and you should have let Cat back early. He'd probably be man of the year. The NFL would give him an award. He could not play one snap, but they'd give him an award. How much you want to bet?
I don't think Colin Kaepernick wants to play in the NFL. I don't think he does. I think this is all just a pub stunt.
He's saying he does.
I bet he's saying he does. I don't believe him. I don't. It's just, I think it all goes back to just the pub. Because what's changed now? What's changed? You had a tryout. Everybody was there. You're the prettiest girl at the party. And you what? So you bailed on it.
Why wouldn't he just say, this is how I view the NFL. I don't want to be a part of their organization anymore and go that route.
Because it's a pub. I think he's trying to play a long game with something like this. I don't think, because first of all, he is never going to play. If he makes the Raiders, he's never going to play.
No, he'll never play.
He'll never play. And then he'll get to the point, you know why they're not playing me? Because I'm black.
Which is ridiculous.
So. It'll get to that point. I don't believe a word that comes out of this guy's mouth ever.
Oh, I'm not saying I believe, but I would not be shocked if the NFL and him got together and said, "Listen, this will be a win-win either way."
God, I'm just so I'm just sick of this that this keeps coming up in football.
Well, look at when it pops its head up. Look at when it pops its head up, though, Cone. This story only pops its head up at very advantageous times. All of a sudden, we're 100 days out from football, and here we go. Kaepernick's got to work out. And Mark Davis, Al Davis's son, guy who runs the Raiders. The Raiders have always been very willing to let people try out. An inclusive franchise. They always have been. And could this be just them adding, another notch to that belt? Yes. But I don't think Cap's good enough. But I don't know, Cone. I am starting to go over to your side thinking that the NFL wants him.
You think so?
I'm starting to think that.
I'm going to keep this as simple as I possibly can here. Every employer runs a cost-benefit analysis on every employee to determine the value that they add to the organization. Colin Kaepernick was adding less and less value every year after he played for a Super Bowl, whether it's due to the coaching changes or the injuries he had, and he was becoming more and more of a liability at that time, or at least that's what the league and the teams viewed once he began kneeling. Okay, the ratio between value and liability was trending in the wrong direction for him. Now, if he was performing at the level that Patrick Mahomes is today, or Russell Wilson, could he have gotten away with what he was doing off the field? I don't know. That's not for me to say. Maybe the NFL still would have viewed that as a liability too great to employ him. But right now, to me, with the NFL the last few years, it seems to me like they view his activism as a positive, as a net value add for the NFL, and I think they do want him to play on a team. What gets lost in all of this when we're talking about, well, is the NFL blackballing him, or do they actually want, from a public relations standpoint, to get him back on a team? What gets lost in all this is his play on the field. So I put together some numbers here. I have Colin Kaepernick's numbers from 2016, the last year he was in the NFL, and I have 4 other quarterbacks' numbers to compare that to.
Go ahead.
Kaepernick from 2016 threw for 2,241 yards, 16 TDs, 4 INTs, and had a completion percentage of 59.2. He played in a dozen games that year. Here's a list of 4 other quarterbacks who outperformed Colin Kaepernick in 2016. Sam Bradford threw for 3,877 yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 picks, and I think actually led the league with a 71.6% completion percentage. Trevor Siemian. 3,400 yards, 18 TDs, 10 picks, 59.5% completion percentage. Tyrod Taylor, 3,000 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, 6 picks, 61.7% completion percentage. And lastly, Blake Bortles in 2016 threw for 3,900 yards, 23 touchdowns, 16 picks, and had a slightly lower completion percentage at 58.9. My point is, all 4 of those quarterbacks aren't playing in the NFL to this day.
It's good.
They don't care about that.
It's facts. That's exactly right. That's too many facts, Cone. That makes too much sense.
And you add to that Colin Kaepernick used his legs a lot to add value on the field, and now he's, 34, 35 years old?
Let me just ask you this, and I'm going to get the Booster Club, and then we'll move on to greatest college football teams ever. It's a crock to me because you literally on a Netflix special, compared the NFL and the people that run the NFL to slave owners. You said they poke and they prod you, that there's no dignity. They're like, hey, look at this guy, look at this, like an auctioneer. And now you want to go back and work for that organization. In what world does that not make you look like you're full of crap? If I accused you, Cone, if I came up to you and I said, David Cone, you're like a slave owner. You're a racist. You're a horrible person. Whatever. You think you'd want to come back and work for me?
No.
Or I'd want to come back and work for you?
Yeah.
I know it's not new news, but I'm saying it in a wholesome thing. When you look at how the situation has evolved, how you can cry about not getting let back into a league that you called one of the worst things that you could possibly call, it just shows you that in our country right now, we have one of the worst problems you can have, which is when you make the most simple things the most complex. Because if you can't understand the simple things, you'll never understand the complex things. And that's a big problem we have.
That one is a tough one to square, certainly. But again, let's bring it back to the field. If you are a Giants fan right now, and you don't believe in Daniel Jones, or you're a Texans fan right now and you just got rid of Deshaun Watson, or even a Seahawks fan. I mean, Pete Carroll is on record saying that Colin Kaepernick is an NFL-worthy quarterback. If you're a fan of one of those teams and you don't care about anything Colin Kaepernick has ever done from an activist point of view, are you thinking, man, couldn't Kaepernick, even at this age and being out of the league, come in and be better than a Daniel Jones, or come in and start for the Seattle Seahawks? Like, if you're a fan of one of those organizations, are you thinking that we should at least have him have a shot?
Yeah, I mean, did Pete Carroll put the word starter in there? He's a starting NFL quarterback? Because he could go be a backup for sure.
But he basically said the other day when he was talking to Brandon Marshall and that, like, he's okay with being a backup early, but he wants to be the starter. I'm telling you, if he went a year being the backup and he won the starter, we'd start this whole thing over.
Well, would that work, you think? Like, listen, from this point of view, like, some of the people who don't watch the NFL anymore because of what Colin Kaepernick started with the kneeling, some of them are gone for good.
Yeah,
no matter if Colin Kaepernick, and I know some of them, they're gone from the NFL for good. They're going to watch college football for the rest of their life. It doesn't matter if Colin Kaepernick plays again or not. Do you think the NFL sees this as an opportunity to say, well, you know what, let's at least win back some of the people who aren't watching the NFL because of the perception we blackballed Colin Kaepernick, even if he only joins a team to be a backup? Do you think the NFL's thinking, Raiders, Mark Davis, please sign him. He's not going to beat out Arnold. Put him on the roster.
I'll answer your question with what they said. What's the cost-benefit analysis?
Sure.
That's what it's going to come down to. Which side of the fence do they have to play to be able to try and bring the most people back in? I don't think they're ever going to bring the people they already lost, like you said, so I would not be shocked if they
when it comes down to the character in the NFL, they'll always go with what can win them money.
That's exactly right. What's the Butcher Club say, Blaine? Both branches.
All right, first of all, Insane in the Crain says, hashtag Ask Crain and Co. We want to know, first of all, also RIP Ray today.
R.I.P. Ray Liotta.
Yeah, we lost
tough loss, man.
One of the
Goodfellas, one of the greatest movies ever made.
He wants us to pick Godfather or Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
I'll stay with Godfather. I mean,
I'm Goodfellas.
There's levels to it.
I'm not going to pick between those.
There's levels to it.
Okay, Angelo G. Bottom line for Cap is this: you need to combine his last 2 season stats to make a decent season stats, and it's only 2 wins.
And you're 5 years out the league.
Well, again, and think about this too. This is another important point. The coach who really believed in him and drafted him, Jim Harbaugh, had left at that point, right? So you're trying to succeed in a new person's offensive scheme, which was Chip Kelly. They had another coaching change after that, but the fact still remains, after appearing in the Super Bowl, he went 8-8, and then he didn't play a full slate after that. So 2-6 and 1-10, I believe, in terms of wins and losses. Again, he got injured. He was banged up, had coaching changes. We've seen even his counterpart, Alex Smith, went off and still had some productive years. I'm not saying Colin Kaepernick couldn't have done that. And I'm not even completely saying that the NFL didn't blackball him and agree like, hey, this isn't good for the league. All I'm saying is when you're an employer, you need to take into account more than just the talent level or the performance on the field, and I think that's what happened.
Again, all right, you two, Branch.
Yeah, Stephen Barber, all right, he wants to know, why not just see how Cap does in his tryout?
Well, they did. Footage? That's what they're going to do.
Well, how much can you really learn?
That's true.
How
put the pads on.
Really learn from a tryout? Because I promise you, a lot of guys can go out, and it comes back to the pro day stuff.
A lot of guys can shoot
go
when there's
out,
nobody's guarding
go
them.
out on air and look like the best quarterback we've seen in a long time.
That's the difficult
question. Then you put them in pads. You put guys who are trying to hit them in front of you with mixed coverages, and they turn into a different guy. So how much can you really tell? off a guy's try.
Well, to me, Cap's been in the league. He's played football a while. I'm not as worried about that as if I'm going to watch you work out, I want to see how you move. I want to see how you move at this age. I've watched the highlight tapes of you and how you were at Nevada, how you were when you came in the league. I want to see how is your arm strength still? Are you able to turn? Are you able to bend? Can you throw off platform? How do you look moving around? Are you limping a little bit? Physically, how do you look? So there's a lot that you can get from somebody that's already played in the league more than somebody that hasn't, but still, when you haven't played competitive football at that level, at the highest level in the universe, at least from what we know, for the last 5 years, then I got to see it. I'd rather you come, let me teach you 5 or 6 plays, which you'll know, and we'll go inside drill or something like that.
From Georgia,
or 7-on-7.
Being from Georgia, I've been getting asked from a lot of Falcons fans, like, hey, we don't have Matt Ryan anymore, right? We're tanking for one of these top.
No, but then why'd y'all draft Desmond Ridder?
Like, don't you think that Kaepernick could come in and add more value than a Marcus Mariota or a Desmond Ridder at a young age?
If you're tanking.
Especially in like an urban market like Atlanta. And I say, I don't know. I need to see it. You know, you can't just judge that just from a workout.
What if you used Colin Kaepernick? What if you double dipped? And if you're the Falcons, I know they're not going to do this, but if they signed him to be the starter because they know he'd be bad, so they could go ahead and get Bryce Young and then get all the love for a year of signing Kaepernick and giving him, a chance to play. And then when they go 2-14 and they got the number 1 pick, you just really doubled up best of both worlds.
You know what that is?
But no,
you know what that
let's
is?
Draft Desmond Ridder.
That's the classic Michael Scott win-win-win.
Win. That's the win-win-win situation.
All right, a couple things here. All right,
All right, we got to get to greatest ever.
Okay, real quick. Stephen Barber wants each of you to say something nice about the Braves.
They're World Series champs until they aren't.
Defending World Series champs.
They're World Series champs until they aren't.
Dansby Swanson's hitting great with runners in scoring position. Everybody look outside. Is there a meteor heading toward the earth?
ESP Robart says, does Crain & Co. answer questions on YouTube? Only time we got an answer was on Daily Wire, and yes, we do. And
yes,
I'm
we
about to ask
do.
this question right now. How will the NFC West pan out this season? And you think the Cardinals still good?
When we went over the division winners, I picked the Cardinals to win this division. I know Hop is out. Kyler's about to get his money. Cliff's got his money. I like the Hollywood Brown connection, even though he's really only a vertical threat. I still like what they have defensively. Get through the first 6, play well, then get Hop back, and then make your run. I've liked the Cardinals. I'll continue to like the Cardinals, and I'll continue to say I think the Chargers will win the Super Bowl.
I still like the Rams in that division.
I don't think you're crazy.
I still like the Rams in that division. And really the 49ers to run it up. My thing with the 49ers is they really must believe in Trey Lance. They really have to believe in him if you're trying to shop Jimmy Garoppolo around.
If Debo don't go back to the Niners, they may not score. They may average 14 points a game. I'm being dead serious.
And Hop's out for what, 6 games? Or is
6
it 8?
games.
6 games?
6 games,
Okay.
I believe.
All right. But we all have the Seahawks coming in last in that division? Is that
Yes,
right?
I think we all do. I think they're going to see the last place in that division. But hey, everybody, if you like what you're hearing, go ahead and ring that bell. We're excited to be here. It's Crain & Company live, 2 to 3 Central, daily. Ring that bell. I want to hear it from coast to coast.